Hi, I'm Kevin Flanagan, head of fixed income strategy at Wisdom Tree.
And I'm Jeff Weniger, head of equity strategy. And this is Minds on the Markets, where we go behind the scenes and beyond the trends to explore the forces impacting our markets.
Hey everybody, 2025, never a dull moment. Here we are, a little more than a month into the new year, and it just seems every Monday we wake up to the markets and there's a new headline or two. And obviously, this time around, it was the tariff news with respect to the potential implementation of tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada. And who knows, by the time we're done recording this, there could be another headline out there. We've already discovered, in effect, that the tariffs for Mexico have now been put on pause. We'll wait and see. This is going to be a fluid situation. It's going to be actually a development that we're going to have to continue to deal with, and it's going to create volatility, no doubt, for the markets. But Jeff, to bring you in here, everyone was kind of thinking when you hear the word tariff and say, okay, what country you're thinking of? Everyone's kind of like China, China, China. Yeah. But here it's now Mexico and Canada. Take us through a little bit. So when people are investing, is Mexico and Canada perhaps an underlying item within some of these investments that people should be aware of?
Absolutely. And if you think about immediately with the 10,000 Mexican troops now on the border, as this gets pushed off by one incremental month, does that almost become like a debt ceiling type thing where, okay, it's resolved, but 30 days from now, we need to come back to it again? And then does it keep getting pushed on every 30 or 60 days? And, the reality is with Mexico, when you look in the emerging markets index, you might be 3 or 4% Mexico because China and India, South Korea, and some of these other nations may dominate. So in let's say a U.S. asset allocator, how much Mexico do they really have in their portfolio? But Canada, you could end up with a significant chunk. Some of these major indexes, from FTSE Russell, from S&P also, you could have a DM, a developed markets index that could be 7, 8, 9, 10, sometimes 11% Canada. And I don't think people realize sometimes like it's Japan, the UK, and then Canada might be your third largest holding, depending on how you're tracking these DM indexes.
I think too what's important, as you mentioned, and you even stated it, the pause here with respect to Mexico for the next 30 days, the next month, whatever it proves out to be. We're not quite sure where we're going on the Canada front with that. Maybe that follows suit as well. But, I think you could probably make the argument that China is here to stay. So if investors were looking at, say, Asia, and knowing what's going on with China, is there a country or two in Asia maybe we should be thinking about?
Well, there's various ways you could do it. I mean, if you think about this order of operations where now we've seen China, Canada, and Mexico get the Trump treatment here, there is this threat that seems to be forthcoming that maybe Europe could be next. Very, very quiet with respect to India. I'm not hearing much or seeing much in terms of Trump tariffs. Modi is coming to the White House, so you can maybe backdoor a South Asian play inside your emerging markets and go long India on a thesis of 2025. Very, very little, let's say, conflict between the U.S. and India. That could be one. If you wanted to go over to Japan, you'd be switching out of China and emerging and going over to developed markets. But that's one of those ones where I think there could be some decent relations, because remember, when Shinzo Abe was alive, and this is something we've said at Wisdom Tree for some time, now Abe's not there anymore, of course, but if you were to come up with let's say a ranking of these world leaders and who was the quote unquote best friend of Trump during the first Trump iteration, the first administration, it was Shinzo Abe. And so maybe Japan could be the way to play anti-headline risk. We'll have to see how this ends up playing out. That's where my mind is. I think it's the proper assessment too.
So, we'll wrap up here just looking at some of the market reactions. It was kind of expected, the uncertainties with respect to inflation here, the economy here, impacts, retaliation. So, and that kind of knee-jerk reaction has gone by the boards. But as I mentioned in the opening, this volatility is not going to go away. The Fed is now not just data dependent, they're policy dependent as well. And I think Chairman Powell really emphasized that at the January FOMC press conference he had. And I think the Fed is in a wait and see mode as well. So, here we are. Washington, D.C., Jeff, that's where all the headlines, I think, and the action is going to be coming from. So we're going to end it there. Please check us out, Mind on the Markets. The written piece is on our website at www.wisdomtree.com. And please, on the YouTube, if you like what Mr. Weniger is talking about, give us a like there as well. Be well, everybody.